Welcome to Harpin on Rugby. My name is Jeff Pagano, and once again, I've been joined by my fellow fans to harp on what's going on with Leinster, Ireland, and the wider rugby world. Joining me to discuss Ireland's under-20 squad ahead of the World Rugby Championships kicking off next weekend is someone making his first Harpin pod appearance, although going back, he made several written contributions to our old site, including an article from February 2013 titled The Importance of the Under-20s, where he harped on young prospects like Josh van der Fleer and Luke McGrath. Well, who knows whatever became of them. Anyway, we'll be delighted to have him back on to talk about the 2023 batch. He likes to go by the name Ball Handling Hooker. Hello to you, sir.
Hi, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for launching my career with that article, and many good memories from there.
Indeed, it's great having you on. But okay, so maybe now we'll have a look at this World Championship that's coming up. It was a feature on the rugby calendar for many years now. I mean, it's really great for these youngsters not only to get the Six Nations experience, but also to play other teams from around the world as well at the end of the season. And unfortunately, though, with COVID and everything, it got put off for a couple of years. They did have a kind of a mini tournament last year, but this is the first time the actual World Championship has resumed. So just to remind people, like basically how it works, there's 12 teams in it. They're just put into three pools of four, and every team will play 5 matches, but only the three pool winners and the best runner-up will go into the actual semifinals. But there's fifth place playoff and there's a ninth place playoff as well. So every team will get 5 matches, and there's a quick turnaround between the matches as well. There's like 5 days between every game, so you really got to be able to use your whole squad. And there's a lot of elements that go into these tournaments, but and also the games are always played. There's like 6 games on one day every single day for the 5 days of the tournament. So that's what we've got to look forward to. And Ireland named their squad there during the week. Now, last year what they did was they had a tournament at the end of the season, and they actually made wholesale changes from the Grand Slam squad going into that. But this is different now. This is kind of the real deal. This is the World Championship. A lot of these players from the Six Nations would want to test themselves against the best at that age grade as well. So there's a few new caps in the team, but it's pretty much the same core squad, is it?
It very much is. I think there's only 5 new players. There's 4 players who were named or featured in the Six Nations team, and well, for the most part, it's kind of nothing really will have changed from the first 15. I think the biggest player to miss out would be Liam Maloney, who was just named in the Leinster Academy. He would be an open side. He didn't start. But it sounds like he's got an injury, and that's really the biggest name. The other ones who are named compared to, who were named in the Six Nations squad and not in this, are 2 of them are wingers. Iki Anagu from La Rochelle, who only featured in the first half against Wales. Noah Sheridan, who wasn't featured at all. He's from Leinster. Sam Berman, who would be an outside centre, who's under 19, so he'll have his chance next year. And Conal Henchy, who's just been replaced by Max Klein at hooker. So Max Klein is one of those new changes. Ronan Fox is tight head from Old Belvedere. Dan Barron from Trinity, and there was Jack Oliver. Jack Oliver would have been in the squad in the Six Nations. He's a Munster Academy scrum half. He might have started ahead of Fintan Gunn, but he was injured in the last warm-up game against the Leinster development team, which I think I was at that game as well, and I think we had 8 tries in the game and 11 injuries, and he just happened to have the more serious one. So he's back in, and that'll be some good cover for Gunn and Oscar Cawley as well.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, it like we know what the squad has done, and like you say, there's not too many changes to it. So I mean, you've got to think that with the success they've had and the way they've shown what they can do under pressure and stuff, that they have to be up there with the favorites to do well if they can repeat that kind of form and bring it through to bring it to this competition. But again, There's a couple of extra elements going on here. There's travel involved. This is in South Africa.
Can I just, sorry, I forgot to say, we have 5 players who returned from the summer series last year as well. So they will have that experience to have played against these teams from last year. And Ireland were in a really tough pool last year because I think it was more the 4 best teams were in one
Yes.
pool and the 4
yeah, they made it difficult.
Yeah, so like that will stand to the likes of Prendergast and Dermot Mangan and Conor Tighirnig, James McNabney as well. So Ireland don't usually have 5 players with under 19 experience in their squad. So to have as many as that and guys who are integral to the team as well, I think that'll be huge. And looking at their draw, this is going to be a particularly tough competition. There are, like, Ireland, obviously Grand Slam champions, will be considered contenders, but realistically, you'd almost argue there are 7 teams that could end up winning this tournament. So, we've won Grand Slams before and not ended up in the semi-finals. We've not won the Six Nations tournaments and ended up in the final in 2016. So there's nothing to be taken for granted in this tournament and this draw. So
absolutely. You definitely can't take anything for granted in this. It's a really good test. But like I say, as fans going into these competitions, you really nothing to lose watching them, because you're watching these players who you hope eventually will line out for the provinces and the national team down the line. And whatever actually happens to them, it's experience that's going to stand to them. So Ireland find themselves in a pool. Their first match is actually next Saturday. It's at the Parle Gymnasium, and it's kicks off, I think, at 12:30 Irish time, and they're playing England again. You were saying that that's the last team they actually played when they clinched the Grand Slam. So there's a bit niggle in that as well, and that'd be a good start for them. So how do you think they'd get on?
I'm nervous. England are one of those teams where they're going to have a lot of, crazy athletes with unbelievable skill and talent. And the longer they're together throughout a campaign, the better and more cohesive they'll be. So I'd expect them to be better than they were in the Six Nations. They're a big side. They've got some really impressive players. I've marked out a few that I think will cause Ireland problems, but I would anticipate most people think Ireland should win that game, and while I think they will, it could be, it could be a 2 or 3 point game. So I'd be nervous about it. I think the draw has done no favors either, because the following Thursday, which is a 5-day turnaround, we're against Australia. This is a strong Australian team. In their build-up, they had 2 tests against New Zealand. They beat them in one and lost by 2 points in the other. So I think Australia are probably, if I'm trying to remove my bias, I think Australia are probably a better team than we are, but it's going to be close. So those are the 2 key pool games for Ireland. If you win both of them, they'll be through to the semis. Even if they get, try bonus points and losing bonus points, that still gives them a good chance of reaching the semis as the final loser. So it's possible even with a tough draw.
And in terms of what I was saying earlier about selecting the squads, I mean, you have to manage the squad with these 5-day turnarounds. But like you said, it's a strong Australian team, but you'd want to have a win going into that. So it would probably make sense to maybe pick their best available team for that first game, and then see how you can manage it for the second, and if you can get the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we've picked a very good squad. There is depth in a lot of places. My concern is that there hasn't been a lot of change in the Six Nations. So I know in the forwards we should be okay. There's only in the second row we've more than we've 4 or 5 capable players. So it almost doesn't matter who's named in the second row. Is it Dermot Mangan and Conor O'Tignairnig as it was in the Six Nations, or is it Paul O'Connell's nephew Evan O'Connell, who's under 19, or Joe Hopes from Ulster, who's also under 19? Both of those are very, very strong players, and Charlie Irvine was in the under 20 squad last summer as well. So if any of those players are named in the second row, you're going to be happy. The most turnover was in the front row, or the most changes in the Six Nations happened in the front row. So whether it's George Morris or George Haddon at loosehead, Gus McCarthy, the captain, but Frankie Sheen's nephew, Danny Sheen, who's also under 19, could come in at any point, and he will be give almost 98% of Gus McCarthy, and then you've Paddy McCarthy, who was very strong. That's Joe McCarthy's brother. He's the tight head. So in the pack, you're kind of, that's going to be the most attritional. That's going to be where you can change. I've already mentioned Jack Oliver is coming back, so himself, Fintan Gund, and Oscar Cawley can rotate relatively easily. That should be okay. The big questions for me are more in the backs. So Ireland's strength in the Six Nations was their cohesion. It was their attacking play. It was everybody knew what they were doing. Everything was fast. Everything was, whenever they had the ball, it looked like they could score from anywhere, and it could, produce some magnificent tries that you just, highlight worthy reels all the time. It's when they don't have the ball that things get looser, and they look like they could concede most of the time as well. So if you take out U20, for example, at 13, who's coming in after that? The squad doesn't really have an outside centre behind him. It would probably be Hugh Gavin, who would be the starting winger, who has to come in. So how are they going to manage that? That's going to be the biggest concern in the team selection between England and Australia for me.
Very good. And after those matches, then they'll have a match against Fiji on the following Tuesday as well to see where they're going to finish up into the playoffs. And like I say, whatever happens, even if they don't make the semifinals, they will still have 2 matches. They end up sorting all the 12 teams out from 1 to 12, no matter what. They're going to get those 2 games. And as far as I know, Virgin are showing all the games. They'll show all the Irish matches in particular, but I think they're actually showing all the matches across their network over the week. So we'll have a chance to see that, some extra rugby. It's great to see. It's good to have. We just had the top 14 final last night, so that's the domestic season over. But we're always getting our fix wherever we can, and this is kind of a perfect little buffer between now and when we start talking about the World Cup coming up as well. So it's definitely a very exciting time.
Absolutely. And those playoffs will be how the draw for next year's World Championships are set. So the seeding will be done, if you come 7th, for example, you're going to be the third seeds, if you will. Okay. So yeah. That's why we're stuck with Australia and England and Fiji that was the 2019 results. So it would be very important, especially in the 5th, 8th playoffs, if that's where Ireland are, to win that game and get into the 5th, 6th playoffs have a better draw next year.
And hopefully it won't come to this for Ireland, but there is actually relegation as well. If you finish 12th, is it? You drop down into the trophy. Isn't that how that works?
It is, yeah. And that's why there's no Scotland in this World Championships this year, because they were last. So, it'll be tough. Looking at the other pools, There are a lot of good sides, you know.
Look.
France are very strong.
Mhm.
They're missing two of their best players because they've been called up to the senior squad for the World Cup. You know, that's just, France are ludicrous. But they do have the Clermont starting scrum half, Baptiste Junot and Nicolas Deporter, who's in the centre. I'd make them, you know, they would be strong contenders. They're in the pool with New Zealand, who have three players with Super Rugby Pacific experience from the last year. Noah Houghton at scrum half, Peter Lackey, who New Zealanders are very, very excited about, and Macca Springer, who's on the wing. So they'll be contesting it out for the top of that pool. Wales are in that pool, and Japan. Japan beat Ireland under 18s in April, and they also beat the New Zealand university team 3 weeks ago. So they will fancy their chances to beating Wales at the very least. So Wales could be in trouble. Pool C, South Africa are hosts, and they're always very strong. Argentina, they won under 19 tournaments last year. And Italy, again, they're very strong, but they just don't have a kicking game. They don't have anyone who will kick any goals. They don't have anyone who will be able to kick them out of pressure, and that's been their downfall.
They punch above their weight at under 20s these days for sure, but there's still a bit of a gap there.
Absolutely, and like they're going to lose games that they shouldn't because they don't have a kicker. And that pool also has Georgia, who beat England in the warm-ups, so they'll be no pusher over either. So all four of those teams are going to be strong, and realistically, whichever one of those ends up in the bottom won't be getting relegated. So the way I see it is probably Fiji or Wales who will end up being relegated. So you don't really want Wales and Scotland not featuring in these tournaments in the future. So for Ireland, the Australia team are missing two of their players with Super Rugby experience as well, in Max Jorgensen and Tom Lina, who's Michael Lina's son. Both Jorgensen was named in the Australian senior team, Eddie Jones's first squad, but I think he has a knee injury from the last, so he won't feature in this tournament. England's strongest player is Raketi Malesi White, who's at 13, who is enormous with fantastic handling skills. All of their best play comes through him. It comes through his channel. He releases either of their wingers, and they score so many of their tries through him. So it would be important to have a very strong defensive showing in that first game. And if you do that and shut him down, that will be the key to that game.
Well, that's brilliant. Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot to look forward to. I mean, like you said earlier, when you have a competition with 12 teams and there's about 7 that are contenders, you're talking like pretty much every game is important and be worth looking at. So this is really going to be a festival of rugby over the next few weeks for us to look forward to. So listen, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this for us. You give us some great insights, some names, and told us about, run through all the teams. Literally couldn't ask for more. I appreciate you sharing your expertise with us, and we'll hope to have you on again soon, maybe after the competition. Come back and talk about how you think it went. Okay, so listen, very thanks. You can get you're on Twitter as BH Hooker. I'll put that link in the program notes, and many thanks again. Hope to have you on again soon, sir.
Yep, thank you very much, and enjoy the tournament. It's rugby at its purest.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
No problem.